And we're back.
He said it wasn't a good idea, and he had had several complaints. And my mother said, "Oh, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. You come down during the week and do my wash, and I'll come up Sunday and give a sermon."
Sounds like something your mother would say.
My mother was very independent and very feisty. And yet she was very popular. Everybody liked her. And she liked everybody. She
Would
really
you
did.
say that you and your sister grew up to learn to be feisty too?
My sister was never feisty.
So who
But
did
I
she
was.
take after? Anybody? Who was her
I
mom?
don't know. She wasn't really laid back either.
But you
She-
took after your mother in that respect. Feisty.
Yeah, and my sister, she wasn't, I can't explain it really. She was gullible.
Oh.
Let's put it that way.
So was it your mother who encouraged you to read so much, or was that somebody else?
My parents both read. So did my grandparents. They both were avid readers,
So it was by example.
probably. Although I love to read, I
Did-
always have.
Did they didn't suggest what you read, or did they?
No. My mother was so busy. Let's face it, she was working full time and trying to run a household with 3 kids.
With a husband who was away
And
much of the time.
almost all the time, of course. Even before, because he was in the Merchant Marine. You know.
Now, what did you want to be when you grew up? When you were, say, before you were like a teenager, did you have any ideas about?
Yes, I wanted to be a hostess on a cruise ship.
And how did you get that idea?
I just thought it sounded very nice, and I thought maybe I'd be good at it. I like to dance, for one thing, and I'm not shy, and I enjoyed meeting people, and I thought that would be a good thing for me to do.
And then when you got to, say, when you were in high school, did that change? What did you want to be
No,
then?
it really never changed, and when I got into college, which I only went 2 years, then I got married.
So wait, so you're in Morristown,
Well,
or traveling, and then you're in Morristown.
no, my parents weren't. They were up in St. John's, Newfoundland at that point. But I stayed with my grandmother, and then I went to college.
Now, where are you in your senior year in college? Are you?
No, I only went freshman and sophomore. That's all.
So where were you when you were a senior in high school?
Well, 2 months. I was in San Francisco.
All right, you're in San Francisco, in high school.
And when I was a senior, and my father's next posting at that point, now we had already been to Korea and China.
Wait, are you actually in San Francisco or in Alameda?
No, we were in San Francisco. We
Okay.
landed in we ended up in Alameda. We had to wait for government housing, and that's why I was in high school at Alameda, at the naval base there. And then when I got to be a senior, I was in San Francisco at Daly City High School.
Daly City. So you're living in Daly City?
Daly City High School. That's a suburb of San Francisco. I was right near the Cow Palace, as
Right.
a matter of fact.
So while you were there, what did you think you wanted to be when you graduated?
I really didn't know at that point, but I thought I wanted to be a hostess, and of course I had traveled by that time.
You still wanted to be a
Yeah, I
hostess on a
still
cruise
kind of
line.
wanted to be a hostess.
All right,
So I went to
that-
college.
So you graduate when you had to apply to college when you were in your senior year.
Yeah.
Where did you apply?
I went to New Jersey College for Women.
I know you went there. Is that the only place you applied?
It's the only place I applied, the only place I went to, and I hated every minute of it.
New Jersey College for Women. Was
Now Douglas.
that was Douglas College at
It
Rutgers?
wasn't then, but it is now.
And you went for 2 years.
Yeah.
And what did you study?
I stayed at Gibbon campus, which is little houses in a row. They had dormitories, and they had separate little houses, and and that was Gibbon.
And what courses did you study there?
I took a general course to begin with, but I was told, I think in my second year, that they had guidance counselors, and they wanted to know what I wanted to do, and I told them, and the guidance counselors, "Oh, you have to know somebody to do that."
To be a cruise.
Yeah. And that ended that. I thought, I'm done. Of course, I met my husband by then, so
Where did you meet him?
I met him at college. He was going to Rutgers on the GI Bill. And we married in September of 1954. and
you decided that you were dropping out, and
no,
you had no
I finished
intention.
the second year. I finished the second year.
And at that time, did you have any intention of going back someday, or did you
No.
decide you were done?
I never cared about going back. I never cared. For some reason or other, I think I'm rather organized, and yet I don't like my life being organized.
By somebody else.
And boy, did they ever do that back in the 50s, you know. We couldn't drive, we couldn't have a car, even if we, you know.
You had to be back inside by a certain time.
9 o'clock on the weeknights, 11 o'clock on a Friday night, midnight on Saturday, and the restrictions were so unbelievable. And I had a friend of mine, I was telling her about it, and she said, well, that's because they all wanted you to be virgins. And I can believe it. And
Well, I remember that even my first 2 years of college, they had this concept of
but the
parietal hours. It's like the college was taking the place of your parents, and
it was worse.
yeah, worse.
But the thing that gets me is they didn't have the men have to do it.
No.
We had to go to chapel once a week on a Wednesday. I couldn't miss it. If you missed it, you'd be in trouble. It was horrible.
Now, how did you meet Jerry when you were there?
I met him at school. At
What was the dance, or just
No,
on the street, or
No, I don't know.
friends
I met him
introduced
somehow
you?
or other. I don't remember how. But not only that, but it just was so restrictive. It was unbelievable. And of course, I had done all that traveling. That makes a difference. You know, those girls hadn't been out of Metuchen, a lot of them.
So when during your second year did you and Jerry decide you wanted to get married?
Well, we didn't get married until September of '54. So we knew we were going to get married, but I went to work as a waitress up in Asbury Park, and he went up there too, and we both worked, and then we decided to get married.